Hey, how's it going, everyone? Just back in with another live stream. Um just kind of taking a quiet day today. I'm not playing golf. I have a tournament, uh, this weekend, so just kind of resting today. And I came across Isaiah 11 based on somebody putting this reference in the chat yesterday, and it encodes the sequence again. So I just thought I would do this video as a live stream. Uh, I don't really have, much furniture in my place anymore, so I can't sit and do my usual lessons. So I'm doing it on this laptop. Apologize as well for the kind of clicky sounds. I'm not actually sure why that's happening. It's a really old laptop, but maybe if the laptop doesn't move, it won't happen as much. So I'll try and keep it steady so we don't get that like weird clicking noise. But somebody emailed me as well about you know having my videos put on like a thumb drive or something like that. I would say that it's not really necessary, to go through all the sequence videos and download them. Again, I think that that's cool that somebody would be interested in doing that, just having a repository. But I don't think my backup channel would ever get taken down. I'll put it in the links below, or I'll put it in the chat. I'll put it in the chat right now. I don't think that this channel is going to ever get taken down because I don't post anything like controversial. And I did that on purpose to make a channel where I don't post, anything iffy over there. So, there's if that gets taken down, then that's something catastrophic in the world. Like something is very, very wrong, with the world. So there'll be bigger problems, than just having access to YouTube. So, but I put my backup, channel there, and that has the foundational teaching and then all the sequence, and then this one I'm going to add to it, Isaiah 11. So, I mean, it doesn't hurt to maybe make reference or notes of like all the different sequence times that it shows up, like 200 and something, 30 at this point, I think. But once you know what the sequence is, it just it basically the whole Bible becomes unlocked. There's you're just going to see it, excuse me, like looped over and over again. And then Isaiah 11 is another example of it. So it's it kind of just once you know the pattern, the key, then you'll notice that that pattern is everywhere. And so even in places where people would not read it as if they're prophetic, it is. Sometimes it's coded language. So this sequence is essentially God breathing. And so, it's his DNA. And so the sequence is, um, there's a scattering of God's people. That's the most important thing to understand that that's occurred in these days. Then a group is sealed, and then there's salvation, which then begins the wrath of God, which is Revelation 16, or the plagues. Then the two witnesses are killed and taken away. And then Christ returns with his elect for a 30-day battle in the Middle East. And then there's 45 days of miracles for the remnant, which we're going to talk about here in Isaiah 11. And then the kingdom is established. And so that's the sequence of the end times. And after the two witnesses are taken away because they're in America, America's destroyed. And so that's the sequence, and that's the sequence of the end times. And so once you know that, it doesn't hurt to know that I found it many, many times, but it's more fun to go and look for it yourself, because you'll see the ones that I found and then you may find more. So that's what I would recommend for somebody. It's a bit overkill. Again, I appreciate the desire for somebody to want to create a backup of my channel. I actually just sold one of my external hard drives. I could have easily put them on that and then mailed it to somebody, but it's too late at this point. But so just maybe get the few foundational videos, the very first 3 videos on my backup channel, download those, and then I don't know, just make note of the other ones. I mean, there's a lot, so you don't necessarily have to watch all of them. I was doing that again just to sort of pass time and confirm for myself that that's the solution. It's like you took the sequence that was given to me in Revelation, and then you go and check for that everywhere. And I was amazed. I did not expect that to be the case. Certainly when because I've never seen that pattern before, or paid attention to it. So it was alarming to me, and it was a treasure. And it just proves that the entire Bible is internally consistent. There is no inconsistent language between books, in between Genesis and Revelation, and including the Apocrypha, and even Enoch has the sequence as well, many, many times. So that's the answer. Okay. And so once you have it, just go look for it, and then you'll see it again here in Isaiah 11. So it's many, many references in Isaiah. This is pretty much icing on the cake. I mean, there's almost the entire Bible, and definitely the major prophets. I mean, they're all major prophets, but all the prophets, those books are going to loop this sequence. Definitely Isaiah, Daniel, Ezekiel, and all that stuff. So those books are going to have it, I would say more frequently. But again, it's surprising when you see it in books where you don't expect it to be there, like in the Gospels, and then in Paul's writing. So it's not just like a Old Testament thing. All those spirits are the same souls that were in the Old Testament, reborn into Christ's time, and then now in the last days, because we understand it. So here we go, Isaiah 11. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. And the Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and of fear of the Lord. Verse 3, and shall make him of quick understanding in the fear of the Lord, and he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, neither reprove after the hearing of his ears. But with righteousness shall he judge the poor, and reprove the equity for the meek of the earth. And he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked. Okay, so this is now prophesying that Christ will be on the scene. Okay, and so this is an incredible thing, how this one chapter goes through the beginning of Christ's time and what he's going to be all about to the end. Okay, the end of the end. Verse 5, and righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins. Verse 6, the wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. And the cow and the bear shall feed their oxes. The cow and the bear shall feed their young ones, shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like the ox. And the sucking child shall play on the hole of the asp, and the weaned child shall put his hand on the cockatrice's den. Verse 9, they shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of knowledge of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. So you can see that this preamble is the beginning of talking about the kingdom. Okay, and then it's going to go into the sequence shortly. So this just shows that the Bible is one long stream. It's not just like, chapter 10, chapter 11. Those numbers are important for the information with the numerology, but this is going into the kingdom, and I have another sequence video in Isaiah 10. And so if you go back to Isaiah 10, you'll see that this is the tail end of that. Okay. And so the Bible is just looping the sequence over and over again. And so this begins, taking off from the previous chapter, Isaiah 10. So this is describing the kingdom. Okay. Verse 9, they shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of the Lord. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. So they're not going to hurt nor destroy. Okay, so why are these people saying they're going to be harming people and beating people over the head? It must be that they're just actors. Okay. Verse 10, and in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. To it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious. Verse 11, and it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time. So here we're going to go through the sequence again. This is in Isaiah 11:11. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Pathros and from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the islands of the sea. So in modern day, Egypt is America. So God's people are going to be everywhere. And it says even from the islands of the sea. So Isaiah 11:11 is our first reference to salvation. So now we're starting the sequence, the loop over again. Okay, because above is the kingdom. So now we're going to start again. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. So again, it shows that God's people are in all nations. Verse 13, the envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. So the internal strife will be removed amongst this group that's taken away. They're going to be one in spirit. Why? Because they were all sealed in Revelation 7. Okay. Verse 14, but they shall fly upon the shoulders of the Philistines toward the west. They shall spoil them of the east together. They shall lay their hand upon Edom and Moab, and the children of Ammon shall obey them. And so after Christ takes away his elect, okay, they're going to return with him. This is in verse 14. But they shall fly upon the shoulders of the Philistines. Towards the west, they shall spoil them of the east together. So all these people are going to be together. Okay, this is the gathering. Isaiah 11:11, 12, and 13 is talking about a combining of God's people worldwide, like it says, and from the islands of the sea. And it says here, Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover. The second time. This has not occurred yet. Never in human history has God's people been collected from all these places. Assyria, Egypt, Pathros, Cush, Elam, Shinar, Hamath, and from the islands. That's never happened. Okay. And shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And they're outcasts because the society, even other Israelites, hate them. Okay. Because they have the truth. Okay. So 11, 12, and 13 is talking about salvation. And then 14, and that's in verse 14 for a reason, that's talking about Christ returning with the elect. Listen to this, but they shall fly. So they're going to be in the sky. Okay, and the precept for that is one of many is 1 Thessalonians 3:13. I'll try and get all the precepts, just as many as I can think of. But 1 Thessalonians 3:13, to the end he may establish your hearts unblameable in holiness before God, even our Father, at the coming of the Lord Jesus Christ with all of his saints. All of his saints. And that's why this is in Isaiah 11:14. 14 or 144 is a number for the elect. So this is them returning in the sky. But they shall fly upon the shoulders of the Philistines towards the west. They shall spoil them of the east together. They shall lay their hand upon Edom and Moab, and the children of Ammon shall obey them. And so they're going to come back with destruction. Okay. And it's written here, verse 15, and the Lord shall utterly destroy the tongue of the Egyptian sea, and with his mighty wind shall he shake his hand over the river, and shall smite it in the seven streams, and make man go over dry hot. And the Lord shall utterly destroy. That's in Isaiah 11:15. You add that together, 26:66. Talking about destruction. Okay. This is everybody with the mark of the beast that's getting destroyed in Isaiah 11:14 and 15. Okay. This is after the Great Tribulation period. And so what happens at the end of that, like I said, is the remnant are gathered in 2nd Ezra. Here in verse 16, and there shall be a highway for the remnant of his people. A highway. This is something on earth. Okay. And there shall be a highway for the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, so in the Middle East, like as it was to Israel in the day that he came out of the land of Egypt. So it's the comparison is people here on earth, okay, walking and moving around. So that's going to happen again in the last days. Okay, and the precept for that is Revelation 16 and 2nd Ezra. I'll pull both of those up. This is the peaceable multitude. Okay, in 2nd Ezra 13. And so I'll read that as well. So the first precept talking about this highway, as it was, in the day that he came out of the land of Egypt, there's going to be a similar type journey. Okay, going to occur for this group. Okay, the remnant in Revelation 11 and Revelation 16. Let me get Revelation 11 first. That's the group that's being talked about here. There's a group on this earth in the Middle East that keep God's laws. Okay, they're in Arzareth, which is not America for you dummies. And I'll read that in 2nd Ezra. But that's this group right here. Revelation 11:13. In the same hour there was a great earthquake, and the 10th part of the city fell, and in the earthquake were slain of men 7,000, and the remnant were affrighted and gave glory to the God of heaven. So that remnant is the group in 2nd Ezra 13. Okay. And this has to happen for them to make that journey in Revelation 16, because Revelation 11 and 16 are sister chapters. Okay, they run parallel. It's the time of the two witnesses. And notice that they end in the same way, with an earthquake and with hail. A great earthquake, as it says here in Revelation 16:18. But here, one of the plagues is needed for them to make that journey. Okay, Revelation 16:12. And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. Okay, so this water being dried up is important for this group in 2nd Ezra to make their journey back. Okay, and that's what's being talked about here in Isaiah 11:16. Notice the precept for that is in Revelation 16. And there shall be a highway for the remnant of his people, which shall be left, okay, from Assyria in the Middle East, like it was to Israel in the day that he came out of the land of Egypt. So this is slightly coded language, but it lets us know where they are. Okay, they're not in America. Okay, this group is in a distant region in Arzareth. And I'll read that here in 2nd Ezra 13. Okay, it's important to understand this book. Very important. Here we go. 2nd Ezra 13. I'll start at 40. These are the 10 tribes. 39. And whereas thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him. This is after Christ is finished destroying. Let me read up a little bit actually to understand. 2nd Ezra 13:34. And an innumerable multitude shall be gathered together, as thou sawest, willing to come and to overcome him by fighting. That's in 1334, 444, FFF 666. That's God's entire left-hand side. So even the Apocrypha has the numerology. But he shall stand upon the top of the Mount Zion. So he's with his elect. And Zion shall come. So he's with his elect, and shall be showed to all men, being prepared and builded, like as thou sawest the hill graven without hands. These are these so-called UFOs, and these quote-unquote rocks in the sky, like we just read in Isaiah 11. Isaiah 11, but they shall fly upon the shoulders. Okay, in Isaiah 11:14. Okay, verse 37. And this my son shall rebuke the wicked inventions of those nations, which for their wicked life are fallen into the tempest. The wicked inventions, all these ICBMs, all these missiles. Okay, and so they're going to point those and shoot those into the sky. Verse 38, and shall lay before them their evil thoughts and the torments wherewith they shall begin to be tormented, which are like unto a flame. So they're going to be destroyed by fire, and he shall destroy them without labor by the law, which is like unto me. Okay, so the law is within Christ. Okay, and the Most High put that there. Verse 39, and whereas thou sawest that he gathered another multitude unto him. So this is after the wrath of God, okay, with the elect. These are those are the 10 tribes which are carried away prisoners out of their land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Shalmaneser, the king of Assyria, led away captive. That's a key word. Isaiah 11:16, and there shall be a highway for the remnant of the people which shall be left from Assyria, like as it was to Israel in the day that he came out of the land of Egypt. So it's talking about this group. Okay. These are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Shalmaneser, the king of Assyria, led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. Verse 41, but they took this counsel among themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen, which is what we're asking now, and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt, that they might keep their statutes which they never kept in their own land. This is what we're asking for right now with salvation. And listen to this, and they entered into the Euphrates by the narrow places of the river. For the Most High then showed signs for them and held still the flood till they were passed over. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half, and that same region is called Arzareth. So there's a group right now in the Middle East, okay, in this place called Arzareth. And listen to this, they dwelt there until the latter time, and now when they shall begin to come. Verse 47, the highest shall stay the springs of the stream again, that they may go through. Therefore thou sawest the multitude with peace. Okay, and so that's the group that is talking about here in Revelation 16:12. And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. Okay, so that's talking about this group. Okay, they're going to make their journey back, and God's going to do miracles for them. That's the last 45 days in the book of Daniel, talking about 1335. Okay. The 1260 is the time of the two witnesses. The 30 days is the time of the wrath of God with the elect. That's in Zechariah 11:8. And then the last 45 days is Christ doing miracles for this group, this peaceable multitude who are in Arzareth, okay, who were led away by this, verse 40. These are the 10 tribes which are carried away prisoners out of their own land into the time of Hosea the king, whom Shalmaneser, the king of Assyria, led away captive. And he carried them over the waters so that they came into another land. So in the last days, God has to dry up that water body for them to make that journey back. Okay. And so that's the understanding on Isaiah 11. So it just shows again to me the consistency between all the books. You know, it's there's nothing inconsistent at all. This one goes through literally the time prophesying Christ being on the scene, and then his ministry, what he'll be all about, and shall make him of quick understanding in the fear of the Lord. He shall not judge after the sight of the eyes, neither reprove after the hearing of his ears, but with righteousness shall he judge. Okay, and then it says here, and he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked. That's in 11:4:44. That's going to be also with his two witnesses in Revelation 11:4. Okay, that's one of the mechanisms at the beginning that he's going to smite the earth. Notice the language here in Isaiah 11:4, and he shall smite the earth. And then if you go to Revelation 11, you get the same thing. How come all the Israelites are saying the same thing and they're saying it in the same way? Is that just a coincidence? Revelation 11, verse 6. These have power to shut heaven, that it rain not in the days of their prophecy, and have power over waters to turn them blood, and to smite the earth with all plagues as often as they will. That sounds exactly like what we're reading in Isaiah 11. And he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked. So Isaiah 11 goes through the sequence of the end times perfectly. Okay. It's just looping it over and over again. And then it begins in Isaiah 11:11. And the nice thing about it here is it has a very, very clear reference to the remnant, okay, which are in Arzareth. And then you have to get that understanding in 2nd Ezra 13. And so that's what's being talked about in the book of Daniel. Okay, let me get that reference just so people, just so I get all the precepts. So the 1260 is from here, Revelation 11, 3, and I'll give power unto my two witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,203 days, clothed in sackcloth, or 42 months, as it's written in Revelation 11, 2. So that's 1,260 days. Okay. And so where's this other number coming from? So let's get that in the book of Daniel. In Daniel 12, I believe Daniel and Ezra are the same person. I could be wrong if they're overlapping, their lives, but it's very clear that God really loves Daniel and God really, really loves Ezra. And their books sound similar to me. So the reason that the Bible sounds like it's being copied is it's the same souls writing it. That's why people don't understand. Daniel 12, I'll start with 10. Many shall be purified and made white and tried, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. Verse 11, and from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, that's a coded reference for the elect being taken away, because they did the daily sacrifice, and the abomination that make desolate set up, which is God's depopulation agenda, there shall be 1,290 days. Wait a minute, what's this 1290? Blessed is he that waiteth and cometh to the 1,305 and 30 days. Well, what's this 1335? But go thy way till the end be, for thou shalt rest and stand in thy lot at the end of days. So Daniel's being told he's going to be here on the earth again. So now we have to ask ourselves, well, where did this 1290 come from in this 1335? Well, the 1260 we know from Revelation 11, because that's the time of the two witnesses. Okay. And then, well, what's this extra 1290? You got to go to Zechariah 11:8. For that, this is the wrath of God that we just read in Isaiah 11:14. So the precept for this: 3 shepherds also I cut off in 1 month, and my soul loathed them, and their soul abhorred me. So this is Christ returning with his elect, and the time period here is 1 month, 30 days. So 1260 comes from the time of the two witnesses, then they're taken away. Then you have this 30-day period described in Isaiah 11:14 and 15. And then where's this extra 45 days coming from? That's that group that I read in 2nd Ezra 13 and Isaiah 11:16. And there shall be a highway for the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria. That's the key word. Like as it was to Israel in that day he came out of the land of Egypt. So it's going to be on the earth. There are miracles on the earth, okay, for that group. And then the precept as well for the water being dried up is in, like I read in Revelation 16. So that's the 45 days that's being talked about here in this 1335. So Daniel 12:10 to 13 has not occurred yet. Okay. It's that's talking about the last 1335 days of this earth. And so right when that's done, then the kingdom's established right after that. Like we read here in Daniel 12:13, but go thy way till the end be, for thou shalt rest and shalt stand in thy lot at the end of days. Stand in thy lot. He's going to be here on the earth somewhere. So after that 1335, that's the final period of the end times. Okay, salvation, depopulation, 30 days of wrath, and then 45 days of miracles for the remnant. That's the understanding on Isaiah 11. And so it's just fascinating to me again how the whole Bible is saying the exact same thing. Daniel's not saying anything different than Isaiah or Ezra or Revelation or anything like that. So Isaiah 11 follows the sequence of the end times perfectly. Hope everyone's doing well. Bye.